Greetings from Rocket. We're about to start our Fireside chat. Hello, everyone watching us online. While pandemic boosted digital solutions so that business daily operations wouldn't be disrupted, it wasn't the revolution that many experts expected. It seems like the fintech and banking industries still have a long way to go fully embrace the modern tools of the trade. In many cases, instead of taking a leap of faith, many companies are sticking to insecure practices as a bad habit. This is a widespread problem not only in Lithuania but all around the globe. We welcome the discussion about the state of the industry and what can be done to make the financial sector cyber hygiene better. So let me present our fireside chat fellows. Vilnius Benetis is NRD cybersecurity CEO and specializes in incident response capability establishment, information security consulting, digital surveillance, security automation, and telecommunications engineering and compliance management. And Liudas Kanapienis, who is the CEO and co-founder at Ondato company, specializing in computer compliance management, and he has 15 years experience in the field, specializing in fintech, digital banking operations, ML, KYC procedures, licensing, legal risks. And I can't hold myself to congratulate Liudas and Ondato team on raising 3.6 million seed extension to support expansion of compliance as a service model. So full speed ahead, guys. Round of applause for you. So welcome to the stage in our Fireside chat, and now the floor is yours.
Thank you, Katerina. Really a pleasure to be here. And to be honest, when I got the invitation to chat with Willis about the cybersecurity stuff, I just like literally waiting for this discussion and questions, because I think it's quite a while we had a tete-a-tete discussion with Willis about the cybersecurity. So yeah, and thanks for the congratulations. And maybe not to waste everyone's time, Vilnius, I will kick off with the question, because the topic I'm pretty sure it's really interesting for both of us, and we have our review on this. So I want to kick off from the question. So what practice from today you see still used in the different companies, and especially from the fintechs and the banks, that you think is actually a threat from the cybersecurity side?
Hello, everyone. Yes, Liudas as well. When I saw your name, I said, "Oh, finally we can meet." Somehow we're just flying some different directions, but seldomly meet. So. It's the topic is very interesting. We have to focus on wrong practices. I usually try to be positive, because in cybersecurity it's very easy to get with negative attitudes. So I focus on and celebrate every good thing what I experience in some fintech, which is usually in some app or some application. I say, "Oh, that's nice. Today I was ordering food, and then suddenly there's no password in Vault." Right? I forgot about it. I said, "Yes, right. There's no password." It resolves it a little bit different way. So the passwords are a tricky question. It's changing at the moment. We should think when the last time we typed in the password. For me, I seldomly type passwords, very seldomly, because already I can tune my company environment in such a way that it requires either PIN code. For example, authenticating to the computer, I use a PIN code. PIN code means it works only on one device. It's attached to one device. However, I believe we still have in our families and even service providers a lot of passwords to use. And my feeling that these passwords, we still have to treasure them. The ones which you have to invent, not generated passwords, but the ones we try to think some structure, we reuse them, because they're gonna die eventually, soon. Maybe next 5 years, next 10 years, the technology will be replaced. I think that's I think one of the aspects where we always need to check. So what's happening with passwords, and what kind of requirements there are? Because it's sometimes interesting in international environment. For example, in Turkey, I think because of a language, password means sequence of numbers. Usually when you generate passwords, you're not allowed to put any letters. It's only numbers. The same, I fly often via Turkish Airlines via Istanbul, and then in the lounge it's as well. It's the passwords are even for Miles and Smiles program, and we can sometimes think that actually the loyalty programs are part of financial market because they have a value and can be abused and used. So I think password is one thing. Another area is always confusing me, the communication channels. When I get something through SMS, so is it true what is being sent? Who else saw it? Who else can act on it? Because if my phone instantly picks up the OTP from the message, but who else could do that? So that's surprising for me. So, and what I am thinking about more and more, I use biometrics. And with the mask, facial recognition is so bad because when I go to the supermarket and I pay with Maxima application and I have iPhone, then I have to take off the mask or type in the PIN code, and I think, okay, my wife has Samsung and they work only on eyes, so for her the authentication works better. So what's your feeling? Authentication with biometrics, is it safe? Is it good? Does it have future, or maybe it's is it replacement? Some kind of, what would you know?
That's a really good question. So I'm kind of anyway the pioneer of biometrics. So from my perspective, actually. That's I will start a bit of from different angle because we had a discussion at Money 2020 about the biometrics, and we actually came to the conclusion that the biometrics is still the only unique thing about the person. So if when the person exists, there's lots of data behind that, even the passport data, whatever, like, you can add some other credentials and something, but the only real thing is actually the biometrics, whatever type of, the fingerprint or as you say, the eyes or a face recognition or whatever. The thing why the face recognition is quite heavily used is because of the capacity of the devices, because if used only on the eye detection level, so you can do that with certain devices and from the very close view, so if you're putting the Samsung like close enough and basically then to get the eyes detected, so then it's all fine. But if you're going to any kind of public places, I don't know, you're traveling a lot as well, so to go through the customs or whatever, you still have to like just remove the mask and to show the face. So because that's the only normal way on doing that. So if you're going through the fingerprint, then it requires some additional devices to how to collect the fingerprints and all the stuff. So any infrastructure that does not require additional devices, in my opinion, is really good, and that's why I think that the face biometrics is a good part. So and basically, what you have said about the passwords and all the stuff. So to be honest, it's for me, it's really funny how we are still using the like just in like email or and password as such, but not any kind of other type of authentication, including the face. It can be other type of like we have those mobile IDs, smart IDs, whatever. But instead of, we are still using the password, and that's for me. I would call that a bad practice at this moment, especially having in mind what is happening around the world, and everyone is going digital. All the the threats come in from outside, data leaks and so on and so on and so on. So in my opinion, that's really bad practice, that we have all the technologies now around enabling us to use like more advanced authentication mechanism, but still are just sticking to the existing ones, which in my opinion is like really not so good. And in my strong belief that in example, the biometric authentication, especially the face authentication, could be used as a proper way, because there's another angle on this. When we are talking about the like customer or the user authentication, we're thinking, and lots of the companies are thinking, that the device authentication is actually the same as the user authentication, and that's where I would draw a line, actually, and then state what is then the device authentication, and then what is the user authentication, because in my opinion that's a totally two different things. If we want to ensure that somebody is confirming some kind of transaction or the login or whatever to the access to the system, so having the device information, we actually are not sure that this was done with the same person. And the good example could be this as well, about the Face ID or that you are using. So if you can comment on this, a bit of how you understand the authentication part itself, because you're kind of showing the face, but you have the backlog anyway, and the backdoor if that fails, isn't it?
Yes. So what I then think about cybersecurity, and thinking that it's caused by humans, and humans are not digital; we are flesh. We are in physical space, and then we say that we do something in cyberspace. Actually, we go through devices, as you rightly said. So we get into a particular device, in a computer, in phone, in something, and then through that we go somewhere, transport ourselves in information systems, in social medias, in emails and other things. Because physically I cannot send email. I need to get into digital space. So I think it's too often that we coincide that the device used for entering, it's a person, but we never know who's behind the keyboard. And for me, I was quite scared about biometrics. I was talking a few years ago. I remember myself saying that, it's so scary that if you start using something what you cannot replace, so what's unique, and then you need to die in order to lose it. So it's biometrics. You cannot change the face, fingerprints, etc. And if somebody can clone them or copy them because you use them from the database, I was pieced down a little bit by the discussion with neurotechnology, which is, I would say, not visible in Lithuania as much as when I go somewhere else and say, oh, I know Lithuania, it's neurotechnology, biometrics, and all this body of knowledge sitting here in the country. So explaining how it's stored on the algorithms, so it seems that it's maybe not so scary. And I think currently biometrics is used mostly for the user convenience. So instead of typing in a PIN code, then it's faster to look the face. So for example, I really wish Smart ID would have facial recognition, as the Swedbank's mobile application has. I'm really happy about it, but when I need to authenticate or approve from Swedbank, then it's enough to look at the application, not at the open phone, but actually the application supports, and it can identify me directly to the server. However, what happens if the face won't work because of a mask and I cannot remove it? Then after several times it says, okay, let's go back to PIN codes, and then it's fall back to the, I would say, less relevant or less secure technology, PIN codes, because I can tell my PIN codes to my wife or kids, and they can use the phone and then get a loan instead of me, and nobody will notice, right?
Yeah, but that's exactly the point. What I'm trying to say, that it's still, when it's on the device level, so it's still the device authentication, isn't it? And that's where the line is actually sitting, because if we're using something to log in, like a device, whatever, like a Smart ID, PIN code, on a device, and just enter some kind of system or whatever, banking infrastructure or something, then it's all good. But when it comes to confirming the transaction, and kind of maybe sometimes not usual transaction, or a way larger one or something, it's still, we're then confirming with the same device information, maybe a second pin. It doesn't matter, to be honest, because it doesn't solve the issue, so that was the same person. And that's why I'm kind of trying a bit of to pioneer within the industry, that we need the actual user identification and authentication, but not the device one. And that has to be a bit of separate if we want to have the secure environment, because we read a lot about the losses, about the attacks, all this stuff on some kind of lost money transferred somewhere. It's to be honest just because of this problem. It's because all the banks, in example, they push the information on the transaction that you are approving, with the smart device, but it's very limited, with quite just a few symbols. And I believe that in that situation, when it's about the social engineering coming against the person, it's just impossible actually to make the right decision, that if that's the real transaction that I am approving.
Yes, and especially for me, it's concerning that if I look at what's written in English, it says non-repudiation. And with non-repudiation, so realistically, what happens is physically, if I have a key, it's sufficient to have a physical key to enter the room, and that's a proof what I have entered it.
Yeah.
But if somebody took my key, then they enter, and then in the law, you won't be able to tell. It's the key is not part of you; it's separated, but as a device is separated from me. So it's very true, very true. But the challenge, what I see, what do you think with all these technologies? But then, if we start authenticating like this, wouldn't we run into the problem that, as sometimes happen, that it's too much centralized, and then one component in complex system breaks, and then we cannot authenticate anywhere? Like Facebook couldn't authenticate into the building in order to fix that. How, if Smart ID fails here, then don't you think it's a bit too centralized, maybe?
So, but that's a really good point, and it's actually also worth discussion. So and it was the article I was reading last week on the some kind of stress test. I think that was actually run with Swedbank, that if Smart ID basically just crashes down for quite a few hours. So then the problems literally start, because people cannot log into quite a few things, and even the public services and all this stuff, and that's in my opinion, that's a bit of a threat that we have because of the decentralization. And now the infrastructure works that the Smart ID and the mobile signature, actually they're dependent on each other. So it means that if Smart ID crashes down, so then the mobile signature doesn't work as well, and that's where the initial problem exists, because the other mechanism which is now available is those PIN code generators, but it's very limited, so just only quite a few customers have it. And the other option is the same, like Face ID login that you're using on your mobile phone from the device level. But first of all, it needs the enrollment. So it means that, if you're not enrolled, so you're not able to use that. And of course, it's again very limited from that perspective. And that's what I'm always also trying a bit of to elaborate, that there are other mechanisms that are available for everyone, and we could use that at least as the backdoor or in the edge cases if something fails down. And in my opinion, there's something that we should really think about, because it's all good that we don't have any big issues or big crashes at the moment, but yeah, as Facebook example showed, even the huge companies can crash down, and there's quite a lot of things there. So that's a really good point on this. So
here I think how I see so I try to start from this. Okay, I'm physical body, and now go digital. This morning I was listening to the songs of Bareikis, Nervai, Manalika Nervai, and then it's kind of digital body jumping around. And I'm thinking that for me to feel confident as a citizen of a country, or as a person being able anytime hop in, hop out in the trusted way and the secure way, I need to have different options. So in this one, for example, I'm very happy that I have a USB stick, because I know that if I need as a manager to sign documents, I can sign it offline. And especially when if it's very sensitive document, I don't need to upload and trust all kind of service providers, or you don't know what's in Register Centras or on Dokobit alternatives. And if it's something really sensitive, I just can use it. and it's going to work. And some systems will support it for authentication, but probably not many. So I was so much excited that when Smart ID crashed, I took my phone, I looked at it at Swedbank application, and I saw, oh, I know how much money I have. It worked. I couldn't transfer because that would require so I as a wrong practices, I say Swedbank do authentication as well for this biometric authentication for signing. That would be amazing if that could be an option. That linking me to the transactions, and then I will see much more resilient in operations. And I believe that with these alternative ways of handling the same, it would ensure that we can hop in, hop out. Doesn't matter what if some providers go down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Vilnius, I would like to ask your opinion because it's like really interesting for me to hear from the cybersecurity expert. If we can come back a bit to passwords and email, because like honestly, I see that it's still used everywhere. So from the logging into the accounts, whatever, sometimes with OTP, but the first question is, what do you think about the password vaults? So that's the generators of different passwords to different applications, and then if like supporting something with OTP, which is one-time password sent by email or SMS message, if that actually solves the issue on the security side, and it actually makes the login secure.
Yeah, so I think password managers are unavoidable need. It's something what like one day we needed to start washing hands and brush the teeth because that's kind of hygiene thing. What happened? The trigger point was that most of the passwords are known because there are billions of passwords every year. Publicly known passwords were increasing. 3 years ago, it surpassed the amount of accounts leaked to the number of people in the world. Now it's 3-4 times more passwords leaked online from different systems, from different times, etc. So you had to do something that you cannot think new passwords yourself. You have to generate. And for generation management, for generated password management, you have to have a place. Now the challenge is that you have all these passwords you have generated and you put on the paper and put in the same place. Mm-hmm. So those who get the key, we can take everything because usually they are not segmented, at least personal ones. In companies, that's why the privileged access management solutions for the companies, it's relevant that then you open only one particular place, or you can need to open different boxes, but you're not opened instantly to everything. So these are good technologies, but you need to be aware who under which conditions somebody can get into all of your passwords. So the vendor is important.
But Vilnius, that's a really good question. So I totally agree with that. What you said, it just isn't there a big risk actually, so that if we are thinking that we are kind of secured and everything because our passwords are good, but if literally somebody will steal the computer unlocked and with the password manager active. So like you can then access whatever site you want. It's just without any interactions, isn't it?
Yes and no, because technology tries to protect itself in different ways. So of course, if now you're gonna just jump and take my computer, you put a gun to me and say now, and so then you can browse my passwords. Probably you can get that from the computer, not from the phone.
Yeah.
Okay, for the phone, if you show to the face and say now you look, and then you do things, but then you can be forced to unlock anything. So,
yeah, of course.
So it's from the threat profile. It's important to understand that some password managers have some software installed on the computer, and then the question: how do we know that it's not hackable? Especially because the password managers are already Lithuanian ones, so Nord Security is one of the companies. And last week it was shocking for me. Then company who sells hacks, 0 days and other things to governments for legal purpose, at least to Western governments, they put bounty on NordVPN. So anyone who knows how to hack, they could get paid good money for the hack of NordVPN. And yes, so suddenly the vendors become targeted like this. So now many Lithuanians can be, pushed or try to say maybe you know how to hack NordVPN because you work there, and so it's insider threat and other threats happening in the company's reputation. So it's a challenge. So this part is, but it's gonna be like this. So maybe we'll need to have two password walls, password management softwares, maybe offline one, and etc. But it's so much about like any other property what you have, any other assets what you have. You need to think, how do you know how resilient it is? And it's the same with OTPs over SMSs and emails. So if it is something for small transactions, paying for the parking or for the food, for the lunch, etc., then it's probably not a problem when it's happening like this. However, if a transaction value goes for above half of your salary, monthly salary, or annual salary, suddenly you start to be more cautious. Okay, so is it protecting me? Or especially if you have not so well regulated areas, because banks are regulated to protect the access to the funds of their customers. However, crypto area or other digital areas, they are not regulated and not enforced. So how the provider decided, that's the protection, and then that people can just target you with different means, either SIM swapping, which is maybe not so threat here in Lithuania, but in other countries is a bigger threat because it's a big economy. And on the other hand, when we think, okay, but if my Gmail account is protected by the algorithm, how one of the telcos on the call issue new SIM card on my name, then I have no influence on how these people are going to behave. And I even cannot ask, but maybe then I should take a decision which telco operator I should choose. Maybe I won't take the small virtual one, the cheapest one. Maybe I should go with a big one, and I trust Telia, for example. Then I should go probably with Telia, just because of a security reason. So suddenly, it's even more questions I have to think about, and it's a question. But at some points, we will just prioritize some questions. But it's good at least to think and discuss with others. I think that's the approach.
But Vilnius, you working in the cybersecurity space, do you feel people are asking those questions, or still like it's not relevant for them? They think that the companies has to take care of everything and they're just users and that's it.
I think seldomly even us specialists who are focusing on that area are critically looking and saying, no, I'm not going to use this because it's not good enough. So one of the stories is that we here in a company, we use another Lithuanian product, which is a semi-financial product. It's a startup. And at first I said, okay, but it's going to be in the cloud. And then I put the hard questions like, Vilnius, what are you asking? Why are you asking? It's a good thing. Why? And then authentication, it was that it's a second factor, but as well you can log in with a single factor.
Yeah.
And I said, could you shut down the single factor? And finally, we found out how to do it, but if I wouldn't ask and push, it won't work. And then the second factor, it's good if Microsoft provides it and engineers everything, but if it is YubiKey, what we create something in devices like this, then we actually always need to buy two keys, because if one is lost, I need to have second one to open. So it becomes something what nobody told me for Smart ID to have two phones and enable Smart ID on both of them, or maybe actually I have on three phones. One is always in Lithuania here, and then I travel, both phones are, because one can be stolen or taken away in Ethiopia. They took it, and if I need to sign, I need to do the Smart ID, I need to have alternative. So suddenly I need to think about the process, how to organize it, and I think the missing part of it is not so many discussions about it. I see that the banks are reintroducing or changing the protocol of authentication, Smart ID, different messages, etc. But it's never consulted. It's never explained. And maybe it's good, because then why to confuse customers, why to increase the calls to the call center? And now we see how the banks are, trying to defend themselves, saying, okay, there's so much fraud, be careful, red signs, be validate, check, and it's good. So I think banks, at least here in this sector, I hope that all fintechs are thinking through that perspective, how to balance usability and security and not to run paranoia. But it's a challenging. So I see that your technologies. That's why I want to meet with you and drink more juices or something to see where you envision where it's going to be and how this physical to virtual is going to be connected more than through devices. Because I think that's the answer, and this second factor is going to be removed by physically connecting, I think.
Mm-hmm. So I totally agree, at least from what I see, and especially when focusing on the real security as such. So it still has to be combined with both of that, so the device authentication, so especially with the logs in on or whatever, but then in the real and transactions that, as you mentioned, like above some kind of amount of money, or when it has to be confirmed or unusual or whatever, so then still supported by the real action by the person. So in this, there's lots of the technologies around, so from the biometric ones, from the face and all the stuff, so to the another biometrics type of like the voice and that kind of stuff, and even the supporting ones, the behavior analysis on how you type in the things and everything, so in this, there's really lots of the things that we can now implement, and the companies can now implement. It's just the question if we are still really willing to do that, because at least from my perspective, sometimes I see that the companies that were not facing the risk itself, either the frauds, either the direct losses, or some direct losses on the in the cybersecurity space, they're kind of thinking of that a bit of more like about the diseases, that yeah, everyone else is having that but not me, it's like it will go around. And the companies that already have some experience in the wider, bigger scale or smaller scale, they're looking at this from the totally different angle, and then trying to actually ensure their every customer, and of course their information and their funds and whatever, so because
It's very interesting. For example, my experience is that I changed the phone and I didn't implement the Revolut application. I didn't install it and didn't enable, and then I had to travel to Bangladesh. And then it started. I mean, Revolut didn't believe that it's me. So, then all the protocol, I said, okay, I don't have a paper to write and the Revolut and the date and the protocol required. And then I said, so what I wanted to stress on this, that eventually it's going to be adaptive security. In authentication, there's already Oktas and similar technologies which run these algorithms and say, if there's some red flags, two of them, I'll enforce not so user-friendly, just to reduce the risk. But if it's a typical thing, then simple protocol works. And and then this risk can be identified according to the attack scenarios. What are typical fraud attackers? Because right now we know what's going here via the SMSs or the Lithuanian Post or the other things. And then you can just tune the algorithms to that, and I think that's the future. That's what we're going to have in 5 years in all the fintechs and all the asset protectors. As fintechs usually are protecting some digital assets.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So that's a really good point. And when talking about you mentioned it right at the very beginning, so it's better to talk about not the worst practices, but maybe about the good practices. So from your side, if now talking about today, let's say you mentioned Revolut Bank, but whatever, about any kind of financial institution, so what would you call a best practice? What can be done today in the from that space, that keeping in mind that if we would be talking about securing the user, so what would be the flow from your perspective, logging into the bank account, reviewing the balance, all the stuff, and then initiating the payment and confirming the payment?
I think so far the closest I'm probably most of it. I'm biggest user of Swedbank, which is my primary personal bank, and Revolut for the family, for the kids, and for things. So I'm quite satisfied. I'm happy that I have them because I know that others don't, and I have BBVA in other part of the world bank account, and so I'm satisfied. What's done? My wish list is from this experience. What's happening currently is that. There could be the authorization via face. That would be benefit, or maybe a smart ID face. So maybe because if smart ID could be opened with the face, that would be sufficient because quite often these PIN codes replacements can be enabled just by whatever smart ID supports, and then. It's important that there's not too much complex information. I still in government websites I see that for example for ADOC signing, when they list the technical certificate details, they please confirm that you're going to use this certificate, and there's a hash and other things. You should never understand what this is. So the visibility, I love that Revolut and Swedbank puts a lot of effort in making it right. With SAB, which is where I need to go there for the company needs, I sometimes get lost and I get confused in the signing and other processes, and not so good. I think it's streamlining and thinking what I'm going to do and how it's better. And yeah, so for me, I'm happy. I don't maybe I'm simple. I don't have too much needs, but I just would be happy to type less PIN codes.
That's a good point, to type in less information on everywhere. Me the same actually. So if I would be just be able to present myself and to show that this is me, that would be, I would be more than happy than typing in any kind of password, because especially when you're traveling a lot, being in public places, connecting to different Wi-Fi's and all this stuff. Like, honestly speaking, you don't know what is happening behind that and where you're transmitting the information, so and who gets that and how they will use that later on. So for sure, I would agree with that. Yeah, really nice chat, and I see that the time flies, and Yekaterina is already logged in.
Yeah, guys, the time flies, and my appearance means that it's time for a question and answer session. I totally agree with you that the less information, less problems could appear. And I have an idea to check if in your case shoemaker child doesn't go barefoot, the proverb. So let's check if your children doesn't go barefoot, as you are experts in the field of cybersecurity and creating solutions. So I have a question for both of you. So what is the latest cyber hygiene improvement you have implemented in your own companies, for your own teams, or for servicing your customers? So think about that. What lately you have done to improve your company cybersecurity inside your.
So yeah, I can maybe kick it off from my perspective. So yeah, that's really good note was on Lithuanian, but civis bebato. So and we just kind of recently launched actually the login with the face, with the face certification to our systems, and what we use there. It's of course it's not critical systems as such. Let's say from our perspective, where the login is needed, but still a bit of to move forward with that. And previously we of course we implemented all the like the password manager stuff and everything. So just to get rid of kind of the risk, let's say, on sharing some kind of passwords or something, and of course it also relates with the management of the logins and users being able to access to whatever type of systems. So there's, let's say, quite a few improvements that we're trying to follow, and of course with others that are still in line, what we see that we want to improve of, or we need to improve. So for sure, there's always like the practices that sometimes we talk to the clients, and then we're thinking that, oh yeah, we are not having the same at our end, and just we
At
have
the same time, it helps you to improve, right?
yeah
Mm.
yeah.
So on our side, I'm happy that I did simplification. I removed one technology because so it was the second factor. So we need to have separate application Duo technology, which is very good technology. But then we simplified for VPN connectivity, but we can run on the same Office 365 integration. And then we just, we remove one technology. It's less things to manage, less things to be bad. As well, another thing what I'm a little bit proud of, I already mentioned that I gave a hard time to Lithuanian company startup saying, okay, guys, please ensure that it's only two-factor authentication because the information is sensitive. Another thing is that we are providing managed security services to others. So I can proudly say that I have a contract signed with my unit who monitors our behavior, our company behavior. And then every time if I try to do something, cybersecurity related investigation, etc., I know that somebody will ask me questions. Vilnius, why did you do that? Because it's visible. So because there is a point to ask why this happened in our systems. So maybe I went somewhere into the Tors or other places, or maybe launched VPN client, the NordVPN client or something. So these things, it's a very good point, but at least I'm happy that we're trying to be on the same level, because you never know who's going to target you.
Exactly, like my colleagues from risk management always saying that if it hasn't happened lately, so the longer nothing happens, so the higher probability is that it is about to happen, right?
Yeah.
You're not mentioning that your companies, your teams has experienced this working from home issues and risks that are coming after that. But I would like to put this question focused on the fintech sector. So to your opinion, Vilnius and Liudas, how much risks working from home concept brings for fintech companies? And maybe you can just as well name the solutions that your companies are offering for fintechs or for other businesses to secure the data and the emails and whatever, when teams are mainly working from home.
So I could start from the thing that then working from home for me didn't change a lot, because working from home or working from hotel or working from a trip, business trip, and flying somewhere, it's the same, right? It's probably at home, it's just maybe kids would like to do something on the same computer. So if agreements are that they have their own technology, and that's fine, and it doesn't change. However, there are different risks for operations, and especially for financial sector, for the support positions. Then there can become in some incentives for internal fraud increasing, because especially if you partially outsource or is not a big good loyalty for some support staff, then at home they see customers' data in their homes, and it's not controlled environment as it was in call center, sitting in the walls, and there is a control what you can write down, what is policy. So how to control that aspects of the uncontrolled environment. So it's the same risk as electronic voting, because Norway stopped doing electronic voting because you cannot control the voting environment, not because electronic voting was not implemented properly, just saying that it's not democratic if you cannot protect the area. So I think that's at least that's the biggest what I can identify as a risk, that in some positions in the companies it requires to be in control, especially when you deal with particular data or money, and then it's can be tricky.
So I totally agree what was said. It's just I would maybe add that it's still the case that after more than 1.5 years in quarantine, there's quite a few companies not using VPNs, for the connectivity. and that's like a hygiene things to have, to be honest. So and still this case that is not used. Then people now started moving a lot, not only because in the home environment it's still more or less, let's say, secure space, so but now people started moving because they're just tired, started moving to different cafes or public places or whatever that they're working from, but not from the office, and then it has the issues about the surrounding security, just the physical security, that nobody sees something that in your computer or whatever. Of course, not leaving in the public place and all the stuff, the computer itself, but also again to use the right connectivity and the secure channels for the connectivity. So I would say that that this is the kind of important and to pay attention to, at least to the hygienic things. And then
encryption of the devices was very crucial. But if somebody takes, for example, if somebody steals the iPhone, if it's on iCloud account, that's it. It's useless. I mean, nobody, unless with law enforcement, which have expensive tools only for provision, then they can make use of it. But otherwise, the same. That's a protection.
Yeah. So and that's what I'm saying, that encryption on devices and like from the practices again, what I see is that we have quite a few now smart devices with me. I have the phone as well. The phone, the watch, and all the stuff. And we all said for our convenience, we all said that opening the devices easy enough, to if they're kind of close to each other, with the computer, with the phone, and all the stuff. And that's where the risk is actually if we are in the public place in the cafe, if somebody is taking the phone and still unlocking that nearby. That might unlock without any kind of credentials or patterns or PIN codes or whatever, and that might cause actually quite a problem and issue, because everything is now on cloud. So we have just to be aware of this and of course to have that in mind.
Additional, I want to share some stories which are not cyber related but physical related. So one company in Lithuania mentioned, we identified through the camera that our staff were drunk at work. We went, checked, they were drunk, we fired them. So it's about as well integrity of the staff and the motivation of them to work properly. And because drunk is not only that, okay, drunk is bad, but rather that it increases the chance of errors for humans and they're doing some crazy things or writing some strange things to customers.
Or losing it.
Yeah, and breaching some security standards as well.
Or insurance, for example, if you're drunk and you did something, then insurance will take it differently. Yeah, so these are the points.
Yeah, thank you. I think we have a few minutes more for some last question, or like maybe making a wish or advice. So I would like to ask you to make advice from your side on some to our audience, to our listeners, on let's say next great event that you advise to visit, or next conference. Vilnius, I know that recently you had the cybersecurity conference just which ended up a day ago or 2 days ago, right? But maybe there are some upcoming. So what would you advise our listeners to visit or to read or to attend for cybersecurity enthusiasts or for people who just care about the topic?
So I think it's not events, it's practice, it's podcasts. So I want to promote 3 of them, which I am very fond of. So Darknet Diaries, I think that's amazing storytelling, true stories. It's all the stories connected to humans about security and cybersecurity. Another one is Malicious Life. It's a little bit more technical, but as well quite good storytelling and very amazing stories. It's from Israel, so then it's quite often some touch of Israeli. And then for our global world and understanding different cultures, especially the Islamic and Muslim world, it's called Conflicted. It's now it's not issued, but then to listen through the stories, it provides the context and understanding, what we do and how we are, and geopolitical aspect from different angles, from Saudi Arabian person who used to be double spy, and etc. And then putting perspectives in order for us to better understand that now we're looking from Western world towards outside. But in order for us to be true professionals and have this critical thinking and perspectives, we need to be able to look from different sides. So I think Conflicted is amazing podcast stories of I don't know how many hours there to get that feeling.
Great,
What about you?
So I maybe I will give the advice, just extending your final word, so that like thinking, it is the lesson learned actually from Facebook, a bit of from different angle, because everyone is so focused on delivering the services and the applications to the users in the good scenario. So, and everyone is just thinking about the user experience, usability, and user intelligence and that part. But what I want to kind of ask everyone to a bit of think of is actually about the opposite side of it, how that can be used from the opposite side, and basically how somebody can use that for the bad purpose, and that's I think the lessons already actually learned, but still every one of us are just a bit of forgetting on that, so much focused on the good user experience, and basically on the customers using our products, and very simple way, and frictionless and all this stuff, but sometimes forgetting that it has its own price. So from my side, that would be like a advice. And about the events, we're all participating, to be honest, in the events that actually is like more for dedicated for our industries, and for the fields that we're working in. And Vilnius is very right, on the podcast. Like for him, maybe the podcast is the better, let's say, touch base and knowledge. In my opinion, from my perspective, I like reading more. So but it's really different. So and I think that everyone is just, if looking at the field, so then trying to, if really interested in the topic, so then just investigate more on this, and to see what are the possibilities out there, what kind of tools can be used, and what kind of threats are there related with the actual topic that they're discussing, because now it's so wide and so different, to be honest, within the products.
Thank you, Liudas. Thank you so much. So let me thank you both for a great discussion, for great tips and stories, personal ones and the company ones. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for all our listeners and watchers. Thank you for watching us, and let's stay cyber safe.
Yeah, thank you all, and thank you, Vilnius.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
It was
See
a pleasure.
you physically somewhere soon.
Yeah, let's
For
see you
sure.
soon.
See you soon.
Yeah.